Breaking news. Even the Detroit media doesn't know this yet. Shout out to Adrian Jordanowski from ESPN. Dwayne Casey has reached a 5-year agreement with the Detroit Pistons to become the next Pistons head coach. And it's your boy CJ Goodfellow. Don't forget to check the links in the description. We're on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. And definitely appreciate it. And share the video, man. We're on a push to get to 1,000 subscribers. And had a great push the last couple of weeks. But we speculated when Dwayne Casey was on ESPN First Take last week, and he started talking like, when I get to coach Blake Griffin and kind of stuff like that. I'm paraphrasing that. He was already in talks to get the head coaching position. We spoke about the guy that was hired to be an advisor to Tom Gores, who was the Pistons head coach. Who was the Pistons owner, excuse me. Ed Stefanowski. Hopefully I said his name right. Ed had got Dwayne Casey the job in Toronto, so Dwayne Casey had an easy route to this job, and it came down to him and M.A. Udoka, who used to be a former San Antonio Spurs and who was a Greg Popovich assistant with the San Antonio Spurs. And here's a screenshot from Adrian right here from ESPN. Dwayne Casey's reached an agreement on a 5-year deal to become the next coach of the Detroit Pistons. The league sources tell ESPN. And we said once he did that interview with ESPN First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman that he was going to be the head coach, and it wasn't no surprise. I wanted Udoka to be the head coach, and not just because his wife was Nia Long, and I would love to see her in the stands. But I thought we should have went younger. But Dwayne Casey, the positive, I won't get into the negative right now. The positive is with Dwayne Casey. He took the Raptors from a bottom feeder in the NBA, a laughingstock that came out his mouth. He was like, the Raptors was the laughingstock when I got there, and took them to Eastern Conference Championship contenders until they ran into LeBron. And he has he has some experience with growing a young team and taking a bottom feeder to the top. But this Pistons job is a little bit more difficult, and you got to talk about the positive. You got to talk about the negative. I thought that Udoka was a better fit because he was a younger, probably more innovative type of coach. And Dwayne Casey is 61 years old. He might not look like it. But in my opinion, I don't believe he or anybody on this God's green earth other than Greg Popovich can make this roster work with the Detroit Pistons. All their money is tied up in Reggie Jackson, Blake Griffin, and Andre Drummond, all right? So they have no draft pick this year. They have no cap space money. So it's going to be basically up to him to make this roster work. Now, is he a better coach than Stan Van Gundy? Probably so. But at the end of the day, what's the Pistons ceiling in this Eastern Conference? I say 6th seed at the highest. Really. At the highest is going to be the 6th seed. We talked about yesterday in the last video, if you didn't catch it, the jury's still out on the Blake Griffin trade because I think they still can salvage it. And Dwayne Casey is probably going to do a good job or the best job he can do with this team. But ultimately, you know what? This team is going to have to tear it down and trade these pieces, man, and start off from scratch. And that's why I wanted the younger coach. Right now, Tom Gores and Ed Stefanowski, they want to make this work, and they think this core can win with the Pistons. And everybody who watched the Pistons who know anything about basketball, this core is not going to win anything significant. Drummond, Dre, and Jackson, it's not going to win it. And that's what your money tied up into. Legitimately, all your money is in them. And they're not going to win nothing. So eventually you have to tear it down. And Dwayne Casey, they might not realize that till a year or two down the line. And then he's going to be 63, 64 years old, man. So you want a younger guy that's be able to grow with this team. And they should tear it down. They haven't even announced a president of basketball operations. So how can you hire a head coach before you get you a GM? How can you do that? How do you know the GM is going to want Dwayne Casey as a coach? And that's an escape for him. And they were interviewing guys like I heard Kiki Vandeweghe might be interested. Shane Battier pulled out the position. A guy from Brooklyn, Tyson Langdon, another Dookie, was involved in and wanted to be, another Dookie, Shane Battier was a Dookie as well, wanted to be the president. They told me he might be the president of basketball operations. But at the end of the day, don't you let the president of basketball operations or the GM select their own head coach? So now that's just that's an excuse for him. Well, I didn't want this guy. It's like Bob Quinn with Jim Caldwell. I want my own guy. And the Pistons definitely messed this up as far as getting a head coach for the GM. So the GM gonna have an excuse. He ain't gonna have his guy that he want to be the coach. But that's Tom Gores. He don't know what the hell he's doing, man. At the end of the day, and a lot of guys don't want to be the president of basketball operations and pull out and not interested, like Shane Battier and other guys. They want the job because they can't do anything. They don't want you to get rid of Drummond. They don't want to get rid of Blake Griffin. And obviously you can't get rid of Reggie Jackson. He got 2 more years on his deal. Nobody wants that $16 million per year deal. Nobody wants that deal, man. So you can't get rid of them. So it's a dead end job. And Dwayne Casey, he came from a solid job in Toronto, but you didn't hear him interviewing for no other jobs. You didn't. You heard about the Milwaukee Bucks or the Atlanta Hawks or the Memphis Grizzlies were considering Dwayne Casey. But the Pistons ran to Dwayne Casey and gave him a job. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I don't like the guy, but I don't think he's a fit for a total rebuild that's going to start off trying to salvage a roster and then it's going to end up having to be rebuilt anyway. You want to go younger, innovative, and they did it wrong. You hired the head coach, then the GM. That makes no sense unless you gave Dwayne Casey, general manager, responsibilities and head coach. And hopefully the Pistons wouldn't be that stupid to do that again, what they did with Stan Van Gundy. But at the end of the day, it's a 5-year agreement. Agreement so far should be signed. I knew he was going to be the coach because I told you that Ed Stefanowski, who was doing the hiring process, loved Dwayne Casey. And he going to find out the hard way that this roster, no matter what he brings to the table, what coaching brings to the table, this roster is a 6 seed at best in the East, and I don't think it's going to be a 6 seed. You got the often injury Blake Griffin, often injury Reggie Jackson. You stuck with talent. I mean, if you would have just taken Devon Mitchell, I mean, you'd probably been in a better place, but you didn't. You took Luke Kennard. You better hope that he developed into something solid in the league. But like I said, Dwayne Casey didn't have no options, man. This is why he ended up here. Ime Udoka, I thought he should have been the coach, but hey, it is what it is, man. Let's see if the Pistons got it right. But I see another 10-year drought of us just being sorry and bottom or fringe champions. But congratulations to Dwayne Casey. We gone.